I'm in between meetings and I decided, you know what, I want to record something that I've been thinking about. So I got a call last night from someone who was just saying, thank you so much for having patience with me when I tutor. And they were like, when you tutor me, you're so cool, you're so calm, you have so much patience, you allow me to interrupt. And I say, you'll find that the people we are surrounded by, they're not bothered at all when you interrupt. They don't feel like, oh, you're holding them up. And we begin to talk about how like attracts like. And many times when we find that we have a whole lot of negative spirited people hanging out with us, one of the questions I begin to ask myself is, okay, when have I been that person? When have I been Debbie Downer? When have I been the person who has brought the environment down, right? Because sometimes when you're going through things in life, you tend to err on that side, right? And so I like to always check myself when I'm checking other people. And so she and I began to talk about kind of that process and that evolution of getting to know yourself. And I said, you know, I am so conscious of picking who to hang out with. I said, and it means that I don't have the biggest friend circle. I don't get calls from a bunch of people to do a lot of things. But the people that I'm around, I know are good for me and they're good for my son. And I began to think about this chapter in my book. I don't know if you guys have a copy of The Purpose-Filled Woman. You should definitely check it out. I prayed a lot that this book would be helpful. And I get so many calls, texts, and emails that it's been a blessing to people. I want to share with you one chapter, and it's called Create Your Own Community. It says praying for purpose, then activating that purpose is difficult, and it feels impossible when you don't have support. The weight of your big goals. Now, in my book, I talk about these big goals as being beyond you, integral to society, and God-inspired. They may feel unbearable when the people around you can't share the excitement for your vision. They can't help carry the load, right? Those kinds of people, they may not be the right people for you in that season. And I think when you're setting the environment for your life, when you're setting the environment that your kids have to be in, being careful to be with people who have the right mindset is key. And I've employed a strategy of creating a community so that I can have access to like-minded individuals who get what I'm talking about, even when I'm speaking the most esoteric language, right? The most far out there aspirational language. I like to hang out with people who can get that. And it's going to be uncomfortable sometimes, especially as we shift our identities. Because oftentimes if we grew up in poverty, if we grew up in lack, if we grew up in stress, or if we grew up in a pretentious household, there will be moments where you feel out of place with people who are very positive and are thinking ahead and are expanding their horizons. There'll be times where you feel like, man, do I even really fit in? Or, you know, my mom isn't like that, or my dad isn't like that, or, you know, wow, your cousins are doing that, my cousins aren't doing that, right? The truth is that you do belong because that's the mindset that you have, that you're shifting into. So don't worry about your roots, right? You want to stay firmly planted and down to earth. You never want to forget where you come from, but you also want to strategically put people in your path who pull you forward, who help to pull you along, okay? And so sometimes it's going to feel a little bit weird, but I promise when you start centering yourself around people who get it, guess what? Over time, your brain will evolve, and you'll begin to look in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm proud of that chick, I'm proud of that guy that I'm creating. So you can do this by finding folks like yourself and forging friendships with them. So invest the time in building relationships with people who look at you and see you're in a rock star. I'm one of a few family members to start their own business. And unfortunately, we don't all live in the same town. And so we literally have to hop on the phone with each other and say, hey man, what you writing? What you doing? Hey, encouraging each other. You know, I try to use my family members when I have a project that I know that they would be great for. One of my cousins, he did an amazing video for a conference that I hosted. You know, those kinds of things, investing in each other. So we don't have to talk every day to be able to say, we don't have to live in the same neighborhood to be able to say, I see value in you and I love what you're doing and I want to be able to invest in you. And so sharing information may not happen all the time with people like that. And so you want to find people who are in your circle that you can pick up and say, hey, let's go to lunch with. You know, so I have my cousins and my uncle, you know, and I can call and say, hey man, what do you think about this idea? Or I can say, hey, let's grab some lunch or come speak at my event. But then what about the weeks when I'm struggling in town? Gotta have people in my circle locally too that I can rely on. And so I had to seek out meaningful connections with individuals who spoke my entrepreneurial, community-minded language. At the top of my list was the Small Business Development Center. So I began building relationships there. And I still have those relationships till this day, right? And I started my business 8 years ago. And there I received much needed technical assistance to grow, as well as connections to other aspiring entrepreneurs. When people in my environment suggested that I was trying to do too much, I received positive affirmation and strategies from my Small Business Development Center friends. See, they knew the tips, they knew what programs, what software I needed, they knew because they were working on their businesses. And sometimes the people in my life who they were not working on businesses, they couldn't see how I could get it all done. Now, I want to caution you, you want to listen to the people who love you. Oftentimes they see things before you see it. So not saying dismiss everything that they're saying, but I'm just saying that you have to put it in its rightful category, right? And so a virtual community is another valuable way to connect with purpose-filled people who can speak life into your vision. You don't want the naysayers. You don't want the, oh, I'm just being real. Gotta watch that. I want you to purposely get people who genuinely see the superstar in you and who can speak life into that. You may have to seek that community out. And you'll have different communities for different aspects of your life. You know, I have one set of women that I talk to about motherhood stuff. I have another set of women that I talk to about business. You know, I have a social group of women. You know, some of those even overlap, right? And so you want to find Facebook groups. You want to find online blogs, family blogs, communities where you can connect with people who speak your language. Friends of mine connect for women's empowerment writing calls. We had a conference call line. We email one another positive affirmations. I can't express the power of affirmations, y'all. Affirmations have taken me through some of the darkest days. And I promise you, if you find one or two things, you know, I have one that I say, you know, all things are working for me. God will make a way. Tomorrow will be better than today. All those things, they help you get out of bed in the morning. They help you keep plodding along. And oftentimes I'll think about, you know, Les Brown slept in his office. Tyler Perry lived out of his car. You know, this is just something I have to go through. And when you decide that you're willing to go through a couple things, you find, you know what, it's easier to get on the other side because it's always working out for your good. You just have to go through that moment. And so I use affirmations. I use visualization. I use affirmations to visualize the life that I'm speaking into existence as opposed to the life I currently have. And my affirmation addresses my family, my prosperity, my business, and I say it every morning when I get up. Whether I feel it or not, I kept speaking that I'm a Proverbs 31 wife and mother when I didn't have kids and thought I couldn't have kids. I kept speaking that I'm a Proverbs 31 wife and mother even when I was getting divorced and was scared that, you know what, I don't even know if I will fall in love again, right? Will that even happen? But I just kept speaking the affirmation because it doesn't matter what my life currently looks like. It only matters what I'm creating. And I want to encourage you guys to keep looking at life that way. Visualize yourself living out your purpose and enjoying the benefits of that lifestyle. Get with people who speak about their purpose and their future lifestyle. These encouraging thoughts help to engineer positive energy in your mind. We all realize that positive thoughts are stronger than negative thoughts, but that positive input has to come from somewhere. It's got to come from somewhere. And so I watch what I'm reading, I watch what I'm listening to. And a lot of people say, Tyra, you're so intense, you're so serious. You know what, I'm silly, and I have a good time too. But you know what's more fun? The prospect, in my opinion. The prospect of us not being broke is more fun, in my opinion, right? The prospect of us having financial freedom. The prospect of sending my son to college debt-free or helping him start a business one day. That's more fun to me than watching hours of TV. And so what I had to do was bring people into my life who that kind of talk was fun for them too. Doesn't mean you're leaving anybody behind. It means that you're sowing the seeds into the life you really want to have. So bring positive, powerful women. That was a key for me, and that helped me change negative thought patterns. Because no matter how positive we are, we always have some negative thought patterns, right? As I was starting this video today, I'm like, you know, look at all these spots in my face, and that really bothers me. And I got to get back on my Mary Kay regimen and X, Y, Z. Guess what? That had nothing to do with the value I want to provide to you today. That had nothing to do with that. But my brain somehow was zeroed in on that negative thought of my splotchy skin, right? That has nothing to do with the price of tea in China, right? Okay? And so bringing those positive people in helped to influence those negative thought patterns. They help you reframe what you repeat over and over again in your mind, right? And so I was able to press go on the video, whereas years ago I would not do video. Even when people kept telling me, Tyra, you should really do video, I would not do video because I was just a little too critical. Over time, being around those positive people who saw the superstar in me, who said, you know what, you really should do videos, people really like you, that helped me to get over that. And so my circle introduces positive thoughts into my atmosphere. We rarely gossip, right? You know what, it's so funny. Every time we kind of get caught on, you know, ooh, I can't believe that happened, somebody switches the energy. And I love that about them, because we're not there to tear anybody down, not each other and not anybody else, even if that person's not in the room, right? So you want to center yourself around people like that. Instead of wishing we had something to do on the weekend, we create events that serve the needs of people. My friends remind me to smile and accept the things that I can't change. They push me to choose happiness when I'm discouraged. They remind me of my purpose when I want to give up. And that's why it's important to be around people who drink your Kool-Aid. So we will always have negative voices from the outside. However, it's our responsibility to focus on our path. When drama is happening around me, I try to say my affirmations and vent only to those who will not wallow in drama with me. I know the quickest way to pick myself up is to call my mom and say, and you know what she says? We don't do pity parties. And that 5 seconds is over, right? I got my little cry out and it's done. I meditate on God's promises and scriptures that 2 pastor friends of mine send to me, and I really appreciate that. I've literally requested their help in this area so that I can eat my spiritual food. And so in today's technology age, you can connect with powerful, positive people across the world. The more you read and reach out, the more you will have coming your way in terms of fantastic solutions. And so if you have to reach out, definitely reach out to me. I'm always available. I'm Tyra Banks Sterling on Facebook for right now until I fix my last name. Become an active creator of your environment and watch the environment that you create around your kids. I took my son to someone's house recently, and we hung out, and there were other kids there, and there was a kid that left their cup. There were actually 3 that left their cup sitting out. My son saw a cup outside on the ground, and he said, "Ooh, mama, they're littering," right? You know, because I stress we're going to clean up after ourselves. We take responsibility. We put something down, we pick it up. You know what? It becomes a mindset. It becomes that's how he thinks. Not that he's not going to be a kid, and I'm not that strict on him. Not that he's not going to be a kid, but that his mindset is, I'm responsible. I put the top back on the toothpaste because I'm responsible for everything that I put down. I will be responsible with it. And so I say that to say, you know, when we control the environment that we have around our kids, that means we're watching what's going into their head. And so, you know, if somebody makes a mistake, he'll say, oh, that's okay, everybody makes mistakes. You know, you can tell that I don't have him around very critical, ostracizing, antagonistic people, shall I say. So eventually you'll begin to drown out limiting beliefs because you'll constantly be speaking to people who are traveling the same destiny-driven road that you are. And so that's just one chapter out of The Purpose-Filled Woman that I wanted to share with you. You know, shout out to Miss LaShelda, who really made Miss Bonnie, 2 women last night, who really made me think about the role of controlling your environment and being around those people who speak positivity and life and love into your dreams. So I hope y'all have a great day.